Hello, everyone. Sorry, at that last moment, I realized I hadn't set the correct sound input yet. But yeah, hey, happy Sunday for anyone who's going to be here hanging out with me. I'm going to be getting back into some Dash streaming. I took a week or two off for things, life, you know how it is. But back now, and yeah, I checked with Ryan. I'm like, can I do this on the weekend? Like, it's a decentralized crypto project. Doesn't really seem like it needs to run on a Monday through Friday. And he confirmed that was correct. So yeah, I think I might do more of these on the weekend. My Saturdays and Sundays are usually I try and keep them pretty open and pretty chill. So I think it'd be a good chance to get a hour or two of some Dash streaming in while I do it. For people who've been following along, this is episode 4. We've covered a lot of ground in just 3 episodes. I was actually pretty shocked with how much I was able to get done. Part of that was due to the magic of ChatGPT writing a lot of the code for me. And we actually met up Monday before last to kind of discuss that. So if you check out the Dash Incubator channel on YouTube, go ahead and drop a link to that actually. Then you can see that discussion we had. It's really fun. I was super excited to chat about it because I've been, really excited about the world of AI for a long time. And these days, now that it's actually going pretty well finally, because, like AI was a joke for 70 years. And for a long time, it was always like, this is impossible. Human brains are way too complicated. Computers will never be able to do what we do. And then there would be like just these couple nerdy scientists off the bat being like, nah, we can build a thing smarter than us. There's no reason why we couldn't. And they chipped away at it. And had some little wins along the way, winning chess considered this great intellectual achievement at the time. And then, they built a computer that could beat any humans. Like, oh, well, that's because chess didn't actually require intelligence. And then they picked another one. They're like, okay, well, what about Go? Go isn't just intelligence, it requires intuition, actually, as well. And then they beat that, and they're like, oh, well, that was just a game, I guess. And then they're like, okay, well, what if we could make a computer that could speak English, write novels, write poetry, write a full movie script beginning to end, answer any scientific question you could ask it, and argue morals and ethics, and then that still isn't intelligent, I guess. I don't know. I'm on a rant here, but the point is, I think ChatGPT is pretty cool and pretty useful. And I used it to write most of the front ends for these example apps that we were creating because I wrote a React front end and then it had ChatGPT turn that into a Vue component, Svelte component, Angular component, Vanilla JS component, and Preact and Solid. Yeah, that was all of them. And so first things first, I was going to share this. So this is where you can check out previous episodes of this show along with that ChatGPT conversation. And then let me drop the repo, and all of the fun stuff that I'm building right now is just going onto my GitHub account right now, this dash.examples. This may end up in an official Dash repo at some point in time. Not really sure. But for now, this is where they're going to live and probably will for the foreseeable future. I like having just kind of one clean mono repo with all of the examples I'm building, along with kind of node scripts and some workflows of how you can interact with the Dash platform. And yeah, so the first episode, I just kind of went through the docs and figured out some node scripts that I could run in my terminal that would allow me to create an identity. And basically that creates you a wallet with a mnemonic, and then use that to create a name, an actual it was AJC web dev test.dash. And then that was a name on the blockchain. And this next one now, we're going to start getting into something called a data contract. So I am assuming that this will work kind of like a contract in the sense of how I've always heard this used with blockchains, but I don't know if that's actually true. This may be completely different than an Ethereum contract. We're going to kind of learn as we go. And then at some point, I'll talk to Ryan and be like, were any of my assumptions correct that I formed while doing this? But let's go ahead and, ooh, I may be able to screen share. Boom, cool. Great. And let me move. And let me actually, before I start doing all that, do a quick sanity check. Great. I just popped up an open window, made sure you could hear me and see me. Everything was good. Seems like we're all good. Because you never know. I've seen people start streams where they were silent. Those streams are awkward. Great. Boom, boom, boom. That happened to one of my coworkers once, actually. He was accidentally muted and streamed for like a solid 10 minutes or something. Okay, cool. So I showed you this. This was Dash Incubator. There's me going live right now. If we kick it back to most of the stuff we do here is on the live channel. See this? This is really nice. I like this cover. The ChatGPT generated Dash code, little robot hand, very nice touch. And then here is this repo. And if you check out the README, and I'm constantly iterating on this. This is not the final state of this in any sense. This is basically right now the first pass of a basic single component front end that lets you basically hit an endpoint that will then display the information for a certain Dash identity. So if you want to check that out, you can go kind of look at the previous 2 streams that I did where I completely built those out from scratch. And now what I want to do is I want to go. So if we check out actually the Dash docs here, so there's the tutorial section, and that's what I've been basically following along and using to really build out stuff that I've been doing. And then I would kind of check out the explanations or the references as need be. By the way, this setup is one of the perfect, like if I had to show someone how to do Divio docs, they changed the name recently, but you can still find the original here. It's almost to the T. What you got, you got tutorials, you got explanations, you got reference. So you got tutorials, explanation, reference, and then the how-to guide is something that I don't think there is, but that's okay because I think the tutorial and the how-to guide essentially does the same thing because you do problem orientation that lets you learn. You basically, I think that these two can kind of be combined sometimes. If a tutorial does it right, you have a small enough scope of what you want your thing to be able to do in the first place, then this is good. If you have just a general framework that can build 100 different things, then how-to guides become really important because you want to show how you do this thing with this thing and this thing with this thing. With a blockchain, it's kind of, there's a certain boundedness to what it's capable of doing. And so you can just have the sum total of kind of the problems that you need contained within the tutorial. And so I really like that. So the first one, this was this whole identities and names section. We went through, we registered an identity, retrieved an identity, did all those. And those have basically been turned into now these scripts here. And cool. And you can kind of see all the stuff that we've done so far if you just read through that README. And then we have this next big section now, which is going to be contracts and documents. And a data contract, as far as I can tell, let's see, let's read the explanation. Have application developer, application user, and data contract registration. Let's see, data contract. Data contracts to define the schema of the data it stores. Okay, so when I hear contract used in the blockchain sense, I think of Ethereum contracts, and that's my frame of reference here. And it does seem like this is different because with an Ethereum contract, it's a computer program. It's like you write, it's like these just a note script or like anything that has any sort of logic you can possibly think of can get shoved into a contract. You require a whole programming language for it. This is talking about a schema of data. That sounds like just storage to me. Like you're having some sort of like a blob of an object that has, keys, values, or you have a table with relations, or you have a Prisma schema, that then maps to some sort of underlying representation of one or the other of those two. All of those things to me doesn't imply the need for a whole programming language necessarily and intense logic. So that's my first kind of assumption going into this, is that I should not think of this like an Ethereum contract at all. I should think of this more like an object in a database, essentially. So hopefully that's all correct. I'll double check with Ryan on that. But yeah, so this looks like something you see in like a database diagram. You got a whole bunch of boxes and lines connected to boxes, and these things are hard for me to parse at first glance. Usually, it's not really how my brain works. I know for some people, these visual representations are extremely useful, so I'm glad it is in here. But for me, I gotta just start writing code. Once I start writing some of this code, this stuff will make a lot more sense to me. But I think I have basically the right idea of what's going on. So let's take a look. If anyone's jumping in midstream and has not seen anything I've done before, let me kind of walk through this just so we're all on the same page. The kind of core way you can work with this without having to spin up any front ends or anything like that is by running an Express server that I have right here. So this Express server is taking the dash. Okay, so first we have the client. Yeah, so the API has the dash client, and what this is doing is this is importing the dash SDK and is initializing a client. And you need to first set an environment variable here for your network, and then you can start with the wallet address null if you want to generate a new wallet. So let me I should make that the default .env. That way, if someone wants to just copy this over, then this command should work out of the box. Let me see if that's the case. So this command will copy over our .env.example to a new .env, and then you can run. Well, first, you got to do this guy, of course. So this is going to install our dependencies, and then you can create your wallet. Great. Okay, so that did not work. Okay, so out of the box, this is assuming there's a mnemonic. Okay, so or is the mnemonic supposed to be null, not wall address? Yes. Okay. Let me go back and see, how did this work the first time? It's been a couple weeks since I've done this, so refreshing my memory here. So testnet mnemonic. Wait, no, this is the one. Mnemonic's supposed to be null. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so let's see. Create wallet. Okay, so this is expecting to have, no, yeah, that's all good. Mnemonic network, mnemonic network, mnemonic network. So that should all be good. Maybe it's because I don't have this. Let's see. Let me go back to my original how-to. Hold on, actually. Because I've got the full kind of tutorial I have written for this is still behind my private blog drafts repo. So let me just pull that up. On screen. Do want it. Okay. Whole thing. So it looks like there's at least one or two people out there watching. So say hey if you want to. Thanks for joining me. Okay, so let's get back to here. Here. Okay, so this is do actual. Okay, so let's kind of this walks it through from the very beginning. So the first thing we need to have is, yeah, so network will be testnet. And then it's just like that. So let's start like that. Because okay. And then you should be able to get this over here. Yep. And so let's just start with that. So it should override this. So now we're just looking at network.testnet. The client should just look like that. Let's see what happens then. And then now we should be able to run this guy. So let's go to this part. Okay, so that's like that. And okay. We'll run this create wallet. So this should work. So something was screwy with my process.env. So if that works, you should be able to do this. Unless I spelled mnemonic wrong or something. This might have been actually something stupid like that. Is that actually spelled right? Mnemonica. One more time. Joys of programming sometime. All right. Okay. So now it should still be able to create a wallet like that. That's interesting. For some reason, doesn't like that. Does not like the way null is coming in. I don't know why that is. Let's see. That works. Okay. I can't account for that, so I'm just gonna move on. So let's take this. So now we got a new identity. That got us a little bit off track, but it should be good now. So let's just put this here. Hang on to that. We can save this right here. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to kick this off. And now this is using the Express server we created and is going to give us we feed it a name, and so that'll be the identity on the dash DPNS, I think it is. Let's see, what was it? It's this one, dash platform name service, DPNS, yeah. So it has a name on DPNS, and then we resolve that and basically give you all its information. So if we now go to, contain my windows right now. Okay, so this thing's supposed to be like that, like that. There we go. And then this one is supposed to be like that. There we go. Okay. Whew, sorry, folks. Getting back into the swing of streaming is always fun. Okay, now I should be able to do this, and it's gonna give me an error. Interesting. Can I read property of null? Okay. I go back to my tutorial here. Might be because I messed up these things. Yeah. So there's the tutorial. I don't think fully took into account where these ended up. I should probably fix that right now, actually, because I broke up the clients into 2 client folders. So we have this one, which is API client.js. And then there's this one, which is scripts client.js. That's why this is breaking right now. So scripts.client.js is this holds this, but so we want that. Also want API client.js. Just actually this example here. Great. So then this should actually work now, I think. Let's get back off again. Okay, I'm still messing this up somehow. Let me back the way it was. This is for a second. Let me just do this. This beginning. Always the best way to problem check a thing is just throw it from the top and see where it breaks, and then fix it and go from there. As geeks haven't looked at this tutorial in a couple weeks anyway, so could probably use a fresh run through. And let me just fix that right now. Gonna get the README in there. Cool. Okay. So now, this is what we got here. And I'm gonna just grab this thing. I should just put this in the gist right now. One more time. Sorry, folks. Just always wary of leaking information. This could be a public gist. Okay. So now this will actually be somewhere shareable and savable and out in the world, and I can start tracking it a little bit cleaner. Okay, so if anyone does want to follow along with the actual what's happening right now, here is the gist. Okay, so cool. Okay, so what I've done so far is created a new project and initialized a package.json, installed two dependencies, the dash dependency and the .env dependency, create a README, and then a git ignore with the following things: .ds_store, node modules, .env, and then if we end up building some sort of static front end, it'll go into a dist folder, and then .netlify and .vercel for when this inevitably gets deployed to Netlify. And then I grabbed this package.json thing that just fills in a name, description, keywords, author, license, sets the type to module for ESM. Okay, that is an issue right there. This does not have .env in it. Great. Okay. Now, after doing that, we're going to make a folder called scripts. And we also are going to want a folder called API. So this is where there needs to be the API /client.js. I created an outline yet? Okay, there's not an outline yet. That is why it is hard for me to parse what's going on here. Let me do that right now. And you can see the very absurd way I go about doing that. We got this readme here. And what we're going to want is we're going to want all of these. It's the type of exercise that I know I could get some sort of script to figure out how to do this for me. Actually, so the most foolproof way is to just do this. See how I think it's already pretty dang lengthy from all the stuff I've done in these couple streams. So eventually it's going to make sense to have this in just one giant readme, because I don't think I'm going to want a single article that goes through the entirety of the Dash docs. I may want to end up breaking this up into a couple pieces for now. Okay, keep it all straight in my head. This is all just one giant readme file that basically sequentially walks through every single thing I've done in the Dash examples repo up to creating the React and Vue ones. The rest of the front ends aren't in this yet because I kind of broke off and just started working on the examples repo and stopped working on tracking it in this readme. But if we see now, we can get a better sense of the whole shebang. So, there we go. Introduction. These we could probably just get rid of, honestly, because as Ryan was telling me, this endpoint is eventually going to go away, I think. So let's get rid of this section. Cool. Okay. Then we got turn them all into links. So this part is the tedious part here. The last couple of sections here don't actually work. The result API route and netlify function part is still broken. Don't go to that section expecting it to work. Killer. All right, great. Good, good, good. Okay, so let's go back to walking through this. So we were at the section right after we made the scripts folder. Yep, right here. Great. And then this and the .env. Grab this. I'll go there. We got these little scripts. These are just reading from the blockchain. So they don't do much fancy stuff, but they should be pretty easy to get working. Actually, include this. Keep it straight. Okay. So that was get block hash, then this is get block by height. Great, great. And get block hash. Okay, so all three of those work. That's good. Then we now have the create wallet section. So at this point, what is changing is we're adding in this part here. And for some reason, setting mnemonic to null with process.env was tripping it up. Not quite sure why that was. Now have this part, create wallet. And then that'll spit us out a new wallet address and mnemonic. Grab that, put it there. And then now we're going to take this, put this here. So now we have the mnemonic in there. And this is for synchronization. I'm going to see what happens if I don't use this at all. Now we want to create an identity. Because even if it takes a little bit longer, if I leave this part out, I kind of prefer that just because it takes off this, like it says right here, unsafe option. I don't like having an unsafe option there if I don't really need it, you know? Makes you feel unsafe. No one wants to feel unsafe. Okay, that's interesting. Why is this? Okay, so maybe that means the chain contains orphan chunks. What else, beyond? So let's put that back in there. Maybe to be safe, I need the unsafe option. Wouldn't that be interesting? SPV error. Yeah, this is why I need to have Ryan on here to answer some of these questions because I don't know if I would be able to figure out exactly what this error means in a particularly timely manner. Interesting. Something went wrong. Not enough balance. Okay, that makes sense. That is because I did skip the step where I gave myself money on the test net. So let me do that. Yeah, I get this on HTTPS, guys. Come on. Come on. Okay. Got my dash. Hopefully that doesn't take too long to propagate. That copyright-free version. So if this does work the way it should, I am creating an identity. Oh, I might have actually tried to create an identity that already exists, though, now that I think about it. Or no, so right now, it's just a wallet address, a mnemonic. At what point do you give it a name? Register name. That's right. Okay, what's happening here? I feel like this is just testnet breaking right now. Oh, something really terrible happened. Huh. Okay, let's try taking all these in one by one and just setting this stuff straight in there. So, testnet address. That's not even in there. Wait a second. Hold, please. What am I doing wrong here? Okay. I don't think I'm doing anything obviously wrong here. This is for sure. Yeah. Okay. Let's just try that. Let's see what that does. This is still breaking. It is definitely not gigs. I will not know what the heck to do next. Beyond throwing a Hail Mary to ChatGPT. Let me pop off so I can close my ChatGPT chat history before I do this. Good. It was already closed. Sorry, folks. This not going according to plan. But that is the way of programming. And these are some new error messages I haven't seen before. So it makes me think it's not necessarily anything happening in my code, but I'm not sure exactly what is even going on in this. It might be version of Node or okay. Let me just make sure I give it all the context it needs here. So I'm trying to run create identity. I have a Node script called yes. Here's the code. Ah, look at that. Great. So that was just a little bit tested. Falling over problem. That makes you feel better though. My code is working just fine. More ChatGPT Hail Mary required. Let's close this out. Okay, so now we got our identity ID. I do hope that wasn't because of the process.env stuff. I don't want to necessarily go and test that again now. So let's just forge on. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we got our identity. We have an identity ID. The identity ID goes in the .env. Now we want to retrieve the identity. Retrieve identity. And then retrieve identity. Identifier expects buffer. Buffer. Okay, it is not liking this process.env. Oh, actually, that's because whoops. That's probably why that just happened. Look at that. Okay, things are trying to make sense again. Great. So that all works. Now we can retrieve the identity ID. And that's going to give me back my identity ID. While that's going, let me top up the identity. I feel like modifying this number, the synchronization, skip synchronization before block height. I'm curious how much changing that will change the amount of time it takes to run these kind of commands. So I tried setting it to 700,000. I think. Let's see. Because it should. Yeah, I wish it was giving me a time readout, but anyway, let's keep going. Okay, so I already did the top up identity. Let's try that now after this goes through. Okay, so that didn't feel like a big difference in speed. The next one is important though. Now we're at register name, and I should modify this so it's not hard coded in here. You should make it so you have to set it yourself. Otherwise, someone blindly following these commands is going to get tripped up. Try that. This should have another. And I had done this at one point. And I must not have gotten the changes into here because I think this is label is what I ended up calling this. Because if we look at what comes out here, we have label here. So that's why that felt like it made the most sense to me to make this an environment variable called label. Where was I? Right here. Yeah, register name. Label. 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 That should do it. That should do it. Do it to it. All right, there's our identity credit balance. Look at that. Look at that. I still don't really know what credit is. It's dash in smaller increments, I've been told. Okay. Let's make this. It's the 4th episode, so let's give us a new label. Now I should be able to register name. That's the one. Let's see what happens. And I gotta make sure to upstream it back in once I verify this code works. So this is now we're registering the name by feeding in a label, which is AJC Web Dev Test 4. I used dash stream test in a previous one. So not a lot of consistency in naming across what I'm throwing in for these different episodes, but in the future, I think I'm going to try, if I do this from scratch, let's call it whatever the episode is. Eventually, I'll want just an AJC Web Dev proper, but that needs to be secret. So you hackers can't mess with my identity. Great. That appears to have worked. And I had already done that. So that also needs to be fixed. So this should be label, not dash name. This is now clean. Okay, let's get this back in here. Add label as environment variable and give yourself a name on DPNS. And I'll eventually link back to that in the proper place if it wasn't already done earlier. Not too concerned with that right now. Okay, that's pretty good. Cool. Yeah, this is where stuff gets a little confusing. So you start having multiple moving parts. So now we have a wallet with an address and an identity and a name. So I think a wallet can have multiple identities and thus names. Not going to worry about that right now, though. Then fix that. This is in a couple places. Okay, that's okay. So I broke this already. So let me fix that right now. That should fix that up. So now we're going to, ooh, yeah, okay. So I had already figured it out over here. Doesn't matter. Let me remove that. This is the one thing that is kind of obnoxious about having to do this in a gist, because it's not as easy to navigate around, but this will guarantee I'm not things in editor and then never upstreaming it. This makes actually at least it's a record of what I'm doing online. Okay, great. So now so we registered the name. That's good. And then now, okay, so I did. No, that's all good. Yeah, no, that's all good. Okay. So now we're going to retrieve name here. And hopefully this will not be broken. Okay, it's giving back null. See if that changes anything. Nope, still null. Interesting. Okay. Keep going. This is what I really want. I just want to get this freaking server running. Okay. This is good though. This is making me rework all the stuff I already did. Supposedly I've already done all this and this should work. So but anyone who's done this before knows how it is. It's just going a couple of weeks. This has been probably a month since I wrote this. And already I'm like, what's happening to all this code I wrote? Okay. So now what I did is I added these dependencies, which includes express, cores, npm run all. Then we're going to make API folder and then a file called server.js inside the API folder. Now, this is where some weird stuff is going to happen because I don't actually want any of that. I just want the serve command, which it looks like actually include here. What the serve command does, though, is it just runs this API server. So let me fix this. Because at one point I was using npm run all to run both the server and the React front end at the same time. And then I kind of decided just too much complexity and there's all these other front ends anyway. So you might as well just like make people have to run both of them separately, because I think it's actually probably better that they think of them as two separate things instead of just running a single command and hiding that complexity. That's going to just confuse you more in the long run. So we're going to get rid of all that crap and this crap. And this is just going to be a single serve command. Yeah, trailing comma. Don't do that. Okay. Cool. Great. Now we should be able to run this. Let's see what happens. Oh God. Okay. Good. That's good. And then we want to be able to curl the name we just created. This, but with a 4. Moment of truth right here. Sad face. Okay. That's interesting. Okay. Something's breaking for reasons that is not going to be particularly easy to debug. Something went wrong. Response error. This operation was aborted. Houston, we have a problem. Okay. Well then. Crap. Okay, so that's going to require me rethinking some things. Either in the error handling or just the sequence of steps that led me here. I'm not quite sure what's going on or why it's broken. And that's not good. Luckily, I originally did this on stream. So worst case scenario, I go back and rewatch what I did and see what I'm changing. But I don't see anything obvious right now that should be broken and to cause that. So it may just be another error with testnet, like testnet's taking a crap and then just throwing an error, and that's why it's getting aborted. That was happening early, like it looked like testnet broke earlier on stream, so it's not entirely impossible. At the same time, oh, different error. Okay, that's good. So now it looks like this is testnet crapping out. This is the actual error I'm getting here, which makes sense. This is the error I was getting before. So that's a me issue because cannot read property of null reading to JSON. Okay. This might be the Momentash ChatGPT. Right now, as I'm giving ChatGPT my server code, I'm saying here is my Express server with the following code. And I'm running this curl command and getting an error. And then it should be able to say why I'm being dumb. Okay, and then let me give it this also. It is importing this file. Context will need to understand what's happening. Let's see how that goes. Oh, look at that. Okay. That's pretty good. This is pretty good. This is promising. All right, the error message you're seeing is indicating that the object result is null when you're trying to call result.toJSON. I did understand that. This implies that the resolve method is not returning anything for the given identity name. Yep. So the resolve method of dash platform names returns a document object, so name could be resolved. So that's, so it's like, how does it know that? Is that actually true? We'll see. Otherwise, it returns null. That's why you're seeing type error because the result is null. Let's update your express route to check for null before trying to convert the result to JSON. Now it will respond with a 404 status code and a helpful error message when no identity is found for a given name. That's nice. Also, I want to point out that calling client.disconnect in the finally block will close the connection after each request. If you're making frequent requests, you might want to reconsider. No, I think I want that disconnects when your server is shutting down. You know, okay, I'm not sure about that. So let's try this now. Okay. Change I now get. Let's see. What do you say to that, computer person? Network related issues. Here, make sure the dash network you're connecting to testnet is available and that you have a proper internet connection. Okay, so that makes sense. I mentioned this in the previous one. Wow, that's funny. ChatGPT getting a little snarky here. It's possible that the client is being disconnected before the response can be properly sent or processed. Okay, so here's how your code should look. Let's now try this. Now we're adding process.on SIGINT. It's also telling me to do something with my catch. Okay, why don't you just give me both of those at once? All right. This. And let's do this. So they want me to do that. Here. Let me do this actually. Semicolons out of here, ChatGPT. What are you doing? Okay. Okay. Huh. That's interesting. It's strange. There should be an identity found with that name. I for sure created an identity with that name. Huh. Okay. And now AJ204 is working. I don't know what's happening or why, but it works. That was a very confusing sequence of events that I'm not entirely sure what was my error and what was not. So we're going to pretend like everything's fine and move on with our lives. Now let's go here and see what happens. All right. New code, 50 minutes into the stream, and everything I previously wrote now works again.